No, guilty.
Hi, I'm Blob, the time traveler, and today I stood in the shadowed halls of Blackthorn Palace, 17th century England, where the air was thick with rosewater and whispered secrets. The chandeliers glowed like stars, gowns rustled like autumn leaves, and the kingdom held its breath for a royal wedding. But what I saw tonight, if you miss this story, you'll regret not knowing the secret that could shatter a crown. The morning broke with chaos. I was there, hidden in the alcoves, when the news struck like a thunderclap. Princess Amara, the bride-to-be, had vanished. Her chambers were empty, her sapphire gown abandoned on the floor. A single note left behind, its ink still wet. I cannot marry him. The court erupted. Servants scurried, lords muttered of scandal, and the king's advisors paced, their faces pale as parchment. This wedding wasn't just a celebration, it was a pact to unite two houses, to secure peace with a rival realm. Her absence? A spark in a powder keg. I watched Clara, a maid with calloused hands and eyes like a storm-tossed sea, move silently through the chaos. She was invisible to them, a girl who mended gowns, polished silver, and kept her thoughts locked away. But I saw her pause, her fingers trembling as she clutched a tray, overhearing the advisor's desperate plan. Find a replacement, one hissed. The prince cannot know. The kingdom cannot know. Clara's breath caught, and I felt it, the weight of fate shifting toward her. Prince Edmund stood by a frost-laced window, unaware of the storm brewing. He was a man carved from marble, dark curls, a smile that hid a restless heart. He'd never met Amara. Their marriage was a contract, sealed by diplomats, not love. Yet his eyes held a quiet hope, a longing for something real. Did he dream of her, or just the idea of her? I wondered as I watched him, the weight of his crown heavier than the gold it was made of. The advisor's eyes fell on Clara. Her face, framed by auburn curls, was too delicate for a maid, too regal for her station. "She'll do," they whispered. Before she could protest, they swept her away, draping her in Amara's gown, the silk heavy as chains. Her heart pounded. I could almost hear it as they pinned a veil over her face. "Speak little," they warned. "The prince must believe you're her." Clara's hands shook as she nodded, her world upended in moments. Could she play a princess? Could she lie to a prince? The chapel was a sea of velvet and candlelight. I stood in the shadows, watching Clara walk the aisle, her steps unsteady, the organ's notes drowning out her racing pulse. Edmund waited at the altar, his gaze soft but piercing, as if searching for something beyond the veil. Their hands met, his warm, hers cold. "Do you take this man?" the priest asked. Clara's voice trembled, barely a whisper. "I do." Did she feel the lie burning her tongue? Or was it the spark of his touch that made her falter? After the vows, they stood alone in the rose garden, moonlight painting their silhouettes. Edmund lifted her veil, his breath catching as he saw her face. Not Amara's, but he didn't know. "You're more beautiful than I dreamed," he murmured. Clara's smile wavered, her heart a battlefield of guilt and something else, something dangerous. Why did his eyes make her forget who she was? I watched, my own heart heavy, as they spoke softly, their words weaving a fragile thread between them. He asked of her dreams. She spoke of freedom, her voice catching. Was she falling already? But in the palace, whispers grew louder. A guard found a clue, a ribbon from Amara's gown tangled in the forest thorns. Someone knew she'd fled. Someone was searching. If they found the truth, Clara's deception would unravel and the kingdom would burn. What had Amara run from? And what would happen when Edmund learned his bride was a lie? If you were there, would you have risked it all for a stolen moment of love? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Would you have said "I do" or run like Amara? Tell me why.
The days after the wedding were a delicate dance of deception. I lingered in Blackthorn Palace, where the air now carried the scent of suspicion alongside lavender and wax. Clara, draped in Amara's silks, moved through the court like a ghost, her every step a tightrope over a chasm of truth. Could she keep the lie alive? Or would the prince's gaze, too warm, too searching, undo her? Edmund was relentless in his kindness. I saw them in the great hall, his hand brushing hers as he offered a goblet of wine. "Tell me about your childhood," he said, his voice soft as the candlelight. Clara froze, her mind scrambling for Amara's memories, not her own. "Fields and starlight," she said, her voice trembling with half-truths. Her own childhood was mud and toil, not the gilded tales of a princess. Yet Edmund smiled, captivated, as if her words were a spell. Did he see her or the woman he thought she was? The court was a nest of vipers. Ladies whispered behind fans, their eyes sharp as daggers. "She's not herself," one murmured, noting Clara's hesitancy, her unpolished grace. I watched her practice Amara's laugh in a mirror, her reflection a stranger. Each night she knelt by her bed, whispering prayers for strength, but her heart betrayed her. Edmund's laughter, his gentle touch, stirred something she couldn't name. Was it love? Or just the ache of a life she could never claim? The conflict came like a storm. A letter arrived, sealed with a foreign crest, addressed to Amara. Clara hid it beneath her pillow, her hands shaking as she read it by moonlight. "Return or the alliance fails." The words were a noose. Amara's flight wasn't just rebellion, it threatened war. If Clara revealed the truth, the kingdom would fracture. If she stayed silent, she'd bind herself tighter to the lie. What would you choose? Truth that destroys, or a lie that saves? Their connection deepened in stolen moments. In the library, Edmund read her poetry, his voice like velvet. "This is what I dreamed of," he confessed, his fingers grazing her cheek. Clara's breath hitched, her heart screaming to tell him everything, but the words choked her. Instead, she leaned into his touch, her eyes burning with unsaid truths. Could love grow in the shadow of a lie? Then the reviravolta struck. Late one night, a hooded figure slipped into the palace, a woman with Amara's eyes, her face half hidden. I saw her in the courtyard clutching a locket with Edmund's portrait inside. Amara hadn't just fled, she was back, and she knew Clara's secret. Why had she returned? And what would she demand to stay silent? Could you carry a lie that heavy, knowing it could cost you everything? Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you face Amara or keep pretending?
The palace was a labyrinth of secrets, and I, Blob, watched Clara teeter on its sharpest edge. The air was heavy with jasmine and dread, as Amara's return cast a shadow over Blackthorn's glittering halls. Clara's hands trembled as she adjusted her borrowed crown, her reflection in the mirror a cruel reminder of the lie she lived. Could she outrun the truth, or was it already closing in? Amara confronted her in the dead of night, her voice a hiss in the darkened corridor. "You wear my face, but you'll never have my life," she spat, her locket gleaming with Edmund's image. Clara's heart pounded. Amara wasn't just angry, she was desperate. She'd fled to escape a marriage she feared would cage her, but now she needed the alliance to save her brother, a prisoner in the rival kingdom. "Keep my place," she demanded, "or he dies." Clara's world tilted. Was she a pawn in Amara's game, or something more? Edmund's love grew reckless. I saw them in the orchard, his lips brushing her knuckles as he spoke of a future together. "You make me believe in forever," he said, his eyes bright with hope. Clara's smile was a fragile thing, cracking under the weight of her secret. She wanted to confess, her lips parted, the words so close, but fear stopped her. What would he do if he knew? Love her still, or cast her out? The court's suspicions sharpened. A lord hound Amara's ribbon in the forest, and whispers of treason spread like wildfire. I watched Clara at a banquet, her laughter forced, his eyes bored into her. "She's too quiet for a princess," they muttered. The king summoned her, his gaze cold. "Tell me of your mother's garden," he tested. Clara's mind raced. She knew nothing of Amara's past. "Roses and ivy?" she stammered, her voice a thread. Did he believe her? The conflict tightened its grip. The rival kingdom sent an envoy demanding Amara's presence to seal the peace. Clara's deception was a dam holding back war, but cracks were forming. She stole moments with Edmund, their kisses desperate under starlight. "You're my home," he whispered. Her heart broke. Could she love him while lying to him? Each touch was a theft, each word a betrayal. Then the upheaval deepened. Amara revealed her true plan. She hadn't just fled for freedom, she'd uncovered a plot. Edmund's closest advisor was a traitor, planning to sabotage the alliance. But Amara's price for her silence was steep. Clara must stay as the princess, or Amara would expose her, ruining everything. The truth was a blade at Clara's throat. Would she protect Edmund or save herself? What would you do when love and lies collide? Like, subscribe, and comment. Could you face the truth or keep the crown? The final days in Blackthorn Palace were a storm of whispers and steel. I, Blob, stood in the flickering torchlight, watching Clara navigate a court where every glance was a judgment, every word a risk. The scent of wax and betrayal hung heavy as Amara's shadow loomed, her locket a silent threat. Could Clara hold the crown, or would the truth claim her first? Edmund's love was a flame that refused to dim. In the royal stables, he pulled Clara close, his breath warm against her cheek. "I'd defy the world for you," he vowed, his eyes fierce with devotion. Clara's heart shattered. Each kiss was a stolen moment, each promise a wound. She wanted to tell him everything, to shed the princess's skin and be herself. But Amara's warning echoed, "Speak, and your prince falls with you." Could love survive such a lie? The court's suspicions became a noose. The king's advisor, Lord Varric, produced a letter, Amara's, written to her brother, hinting at her flight. "The princess is a fraud," he declared, his voice slicing through the hall. Clara stood before the court, her borrowed gown suffocating as Edmund's gaze burned into her. "Speak," the king commanded. Her lips parted, but no words came. What could she say without breaking everything? The climax crashed like a wave. In the dead of night, Clara found Amara in the chapel, her face tear-streaked. "Varric's the traitor," she whispered. "He wants war to seize the throne." Together, they devised a plan. Clara would confess, but not as a maid. She'd claim Amara had been coerced to flee, framing Varric as the puppet master. It was a desperate gamble, truth twisted into a new lie. Would the court believe it? At dawn, Clara faced the throne room, Edmund at her side. "I am not Amara," she said, her voice steady as the crowd gasped, "but I love this kingdom and your prince." She revealed Varric's plot, producing a forged letter in his hand, planted by Amara. The court erupted, Varric was seized, and Clara's lie became her shield. Edmund's face was a storm of hurt and awe. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice breaking. She touched his hand. "Because I loved you too much to lose you." The resolution was bittersweet. Amara vanished again, her brother freed, the alliance secured. Clara was no princess, but the king granted her mercy for saving the crown. Edmund offered her a choice, stay as his love or leave as herself. She chose freedom, walking into the mist, her heart heavy with his memory. I watched her go, a single rose in her hand, her steps both loss and liberation. Some loves don't end as we hope,
but they live on even when time tries to bury them. I'm Blob, and this story's weight lingers in me. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to join our journey. Smash that like button. Flood the comments with your thoughts. Would you have stayed or walked away? Share this video with 5 people now. Only true time travelers understand its power. I'm Blob, and I've got more to tell. Join me for the next adventure.